have the television connection made yet? Are we?
Yeah, they're on.
Okay, great. So, okay, thank you very much. Okay, super. Well, good morning, everybody, on the slightly snowy January morning. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Tourism Commission, the City of Independence. I believe we have everyone here. Are we missing anyone, Christy, that we should wait on another minute? Looks like everybody's here. Want to welcome our newest member here, Nancy Kerr. Welcome, Nancy. Okay, great. And let's start with a review and approval of the previous meeting minutes. Could we see those on the screen briefly? Please, Anna, or whoever's there.
That's me, and it'll take me just a second to get those.
Sure, up. Absolutely, absolutely.
Sam, while we're waiting, I did not get Nancy's last name. Can you repeat that?
Sure. Kerr, K-E-R-R.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure, John.
Can you see those minutes?
Yes, yes. I don't see the date on them actually, Christy, but I know it was a December meeting. Oh, pardon me. Okay, October 27th. Okay, has everyone had a chance to review them or if they have any comments, please let me know. Okay, hearing none. I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for October 27, 2020.
I motion.
Okay. Chris, do we have a second?
Second. Thornton.
Okay, thank you, John. Terrific. All right, so approved. And we could toggle back to the screen for today's agenda. We move on to budget update with Eric, unless you have some other introductory comments, Eric.
No, Sam, I don't. If it's okay, we'll go ahead and jump right into a little bit of the budget discussion. If you would, Morris, I think Morris is on the line. Morris, if you would please go ahead and share our last budget report.
Sure, just 1 second here.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, that's the wrong screen. All right.
All right, and if you can make it just a little bit larger for us, please, Morris. It's a little hard to see. And scroll up so we can get the full headers, please.
That's the top.
Oh, are we all the way up? Okay.
Yep.
All right, folks, we have taken a little bit of a slide backwards since the last time we met. The last report that we showed projected that we were going to be $57,411 down by year end. We have not continued the positive trend that we were seeing at that point in time. We've slowed a bit on that. Bottom line is we are now projecting to be about 184,500 down. So let's go through these numbers and let's talk a little bit about them in particular. So the biggest number that has been negatively impacted is in the transient guest tax revenue. As you can see in the top line there, that's line 3. If you look on your left, right where Morris's cursor's at now, the adopted or approved budget for this fiscal year had us at about 1.8. Again, we thought we would be coming in a little shy of that for sure, but now we are projecting to be down to about 1 million, just shy of 1.1 million. That represents about 41% down. We were trending at about 35% down last time we met. So we have taken a bit of a step back from the overall transient guest tax and the visits into our hotels. So total revenue wise, the approved budget was 1.9. We're now looking more in the lines of 1.13. So in order to compensate for that, we took a number of measures. Last time we took a look at the budget in reducing some of our operating expenses. We've gone just a little bit further, but still short of meeting that zero bottom line, at least to date. So you can see we reduced our expenses from the approved budget of 1.842 million down to 1.322 million. Done a number of things to try to compensate for that, including, as we've talked before, moving the entire tourism historic site maintenance program over to the park sales tax program for 1 year. So we continue to care for those facilities, but are going to be taking that from another funding source. The understanding is that at some point in time, when the transient guest tax returns to its rate of receipts that we were experiencing prior to COVID, we will look at reimbursing the Parks and Recreation Sales Tax Fund for the expenditures that we're going to be seeing this fiscal year as a result of that move. Tourism sales and services, cut back on a little bit of the sponsorship and some of the travel that was involved with some of the conferences and things of that nature. And the other large ticket item is we decided to keep the National Frontier Trails Museum closed throughout the fiscal year. The adopted budget assumed that we were going to try to open that January 1st of this year. That was under the assumption that the rates of receipts would be coming in at the previously anticipated level. Obviously, that has not happened as we continue to struggle with our transient guest tax receipts and the number of visitors coming into town and staying in hotels. So all of that results in a reduction from, again, 1.842 million down to 1.322 million from our operating expenses. We also reduced capital a bit. We were approved to expend $155,000 for capital through the transient guest tax. We're down to $95,000 at this point in time. The line item that you see there, Truman Depot, is a rather large number, but it's also very necessary. That is our match for that $350,000 plus grant that we received for renovating the depot. So if we cut the grant, if we cut the match, then essentially we would lose the grant. So that would be a negative impact for long-term operations. So we're keeping that in play, but we are have reduced our basic fix-it, we'll call it, repair line item from $75,000 down to $25,000, which will cover us for the last 6 months of the fiscal year. So all in told, the year-end position then is in bold, and we were projecting to have a surplus cash flow after operations of $60,000 in the approved budget. With all of our adjustments and the downturn in receipts for revenue, we are projecting a loss of $184,000, almost $184,600. That will come out of our operating reserves. And Morris, if you could just remind us, with this number in play, cash reserves for the transient guest tax fund is approximately what after that?
I believe from the 57 reduction down to this, that drops us to a little over 700,000.
So we still have $700,000 roughly of undesignated funds after taking the 184,600 out of those reserves to help cover operations for this year. So that at least is a snapshot of where we're at today, Sam.
Okay, thank you for that, Eric. You know, it seems to me, well, first of all, are there any questions or comments by the group? Yeah, it seems to me this is exactly what reserves are for, you know, emergency purposes. Is the 700K still considered a, you know, a robust, safe or healthy reserve?
It is. It represents what percentage, Morris? Well, he's finding that the city has. Yeah, the city has a policy of trying to maintain a 16% fund balance. We have always been well above that in the tourism fund because the operations that are under that umbrella only have the transient guest tax as a funding source. So because of this kind of very reason, we had always tried to maintain a much greater reserve than that, up to 4 months of operations in reserve or so. So Morris, where are we at now percentage wise?
That projection would leave us with 49% reserve fund balance, basically. So we were at 74% July 1, and that would drop us about a quarter, so 49%.
So to answer yes, it is still healthy going into the next fiscal year. But of course, you know, we're keeping our eyes on that. I mean, that's what's saving our operation at this point for sure.
And what did you say there was a percentage floor that we're required to maintain? In other words, like a minimum balance where we must maintain in the reserve fund? You said
the
can't go lower than.
Yeah, the policy of the city is 16% for
16. Okay. Because one of the lines I noticed, I think it was the 6064 tourism sales and services. I wonder if we could go back to that screen briefly. Looked like it took a severe cut, and I was wondering, well, why couldn't we use some of the reserve funds to help fund those sorts of services like conferences and let's see, 6064.
Yeah, some of those.
Is there a reason why we can't use the reserve fund?
Well, some of those cuts were naturally occurring. So as the conferences were canceled this last fiscal year, several of them were canceled early, and then several of them actually went to a virtual type of scenario, which would require only the registration fee. So all of the travel fees for transportation and lodging and things of that nature were no longer necessary. So that, just by the very nature of how those conferences were playing out this past fiscal year, saved us money. And then in addition to that, there were some larger promotional advertising, sponsorship type of things that we were planning on doing earlier when we put the budget together last year that frankly just wouldn't pay dividends at this point. I think the Royal sponsorship was one of the largest that we had programmed in, and obviously when they didn't have any fans in the stands, that promotion really was eyes on video boards type of a program, and without any fans in the stands, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to go ahead and keep that one. So some of those were just, I would say most of, if not all of those cuts that resulted in that result were a product of the operating environment that we've now found ourselves in. So they were sort of naturally occurring.
How much flexibility is there in the budget, though? I mean, it's January and maybe it's being too rosy glasses, but with the vaccines coming online, although I read this morning that Missouri's dead last, number of states 50th in vaccines to actually put into arms. But if the spring starts to look good and maybe we start to see a recovery, I mean, is there a chance that we could compensate and maybe start to build back into that, like, for example, the tourism sales and services? Can we start spending more at that point? I mean, I guess it's all contingent on the transient guest tax receipts.
Yeah, it is for sure. And the bounce back for the transient guest tax, and we had commissioned a report to study that. And I think we're going to cover that here later today. Christy, is that right? Yeah, so we'll get into that here in a little bit, but it's showing a pretty slow recovery for visits back to hotels. So our recommendation is going to be to remain cautious. But yes, if we get into the spring scenario and we find that our projections are a little bit better at that point than they are now, absolutely we can go ahead and expend some more funds as we're comfortable with, and as you all might suggest.
Including out of the including out of the reserve fund potentially?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, well, thank you for that, Eric. Let's see. Okay, we'll go back to the agenda. Okay, the next item here is operations. Christy?
Well, I know Eric has covered a lot of what I was going to talk about, just how, we did have one staff member that submitted his retirement in December. And so there's a payout as far as that position, but there's probably going to be some changes with job descriptions, et cetera, involved in that transition. So we'll have some time to work on that before it's time to advertise for that position. We are keeping busy. As Eric said, we're still attending virtual trade shows, which we have been doing for several months. I know Matea has been successful with several of those and scheduling some, they're called FAM tours, which are familiarization tours, to bring people into our community to show them around before they bring their groups in. So attending those trade shows is definitely working. I know last year I went to ABA, I got contacted a couple weeks ago about somebody I met there that is coming in for a FAM tour as well. So the first in-person travel and trade show that is coming up will be ABA, which is the American Bus Association, which obviously bus tours and group tours are really important to independence and our historic sites. So we are getting registered for that one. Like it is in person in June, I believe. So that will be the first one. As far as hopefully if everything works out as far as vaccines and ability to travel, et cetera. But we are still signing up for any and every virtual trade show that we can that makes sense for our destination, as well as trying to keep up to date on just the situation as far as visitors across the country and our region. And Madden's done a really good job, keeping us in the loop and making sure that we are on the right track. And today is actually Plan for Vacation Day. So National Plan for Vacation Day. So today is the day that everybody on this call has to plan their vacation. And you could just stay in Independence, which is do a staycation, which would be awesome. And then any friends, relatives, just encourage them to come to Independence for their vacation this year. So.
Okay, super. Thank you, Christy. Any questions or comments for Christy? Okay. I guess we'll move on here to Kim with an economic impact study. Is that part of Kim's discussion?
Yeah, I would like Kim go over the information. we decided that we needed to do an economic impact study for tourism, just to see kind of, what the impact for the community really is for when tourism comes in. And we actually got a really good timing on that because it was right before COVID started when they started working on it. And then MAD was able to negotiate in a post-COVID economic impact study as well. And so we were able to get that's where we're able to get our projections of what that looks like for the next couple of years. And I will let Kim go over that as soon as I can get my awesome laptop to cooperate with me.
Christy, as we're waiting for that, I'll just go ahead and do an introduction to this research study that we did. Good morning, I'm Kim Thompson, and I'm the account director for Independence with Madden Media. I'm pretty sure I have seen all of your faces before at one point in time. So we contracted with a company called Tourism Economics for this study, and they're a very well-known research company in the tourism industry nationwide. With this study, we wanted to determine what the economic impact to the city of Independence is based on tourism. So the study measured direct visitor spending. It did the economic impact of tourism, the job sector, and then the fiscal impact from tax revenue. And then we to come up with the information for the study, Christy provided and Eric provided a lot of documentation, including they used employment and wage data, occupancy reports. They used lodging tax receipts, and then we had conducted a visitor profile study last year that they were able to use that as well. You can go to the next slide, please. So this is just a really high level view of this report. This report was many, many pages. Christy, Eric, and I sat through a presentation by Tourism Economics. It is very, very detailed and very, what's the word, researchy. With lots of data points and lots of graphs and lots of detail. So this, just remember, it's a very high level view of this report. But as you can see, this is also from 2019. 2020 obviously would look very different. But I'm glad we commissioned the report for 2019 because we certainly don't want 2020 to be our baseline for anything moving forward. So as you can see, the direct tourism spending was $139 million. And this represents hotels, overnight stays, day visitors, purchases on retail and lodging, transportation, food and beverage, and recreation. There was also $40 million direct personal income, which includes the salary and wages and benefits of anyone working within the tourism industry. And then we have 1,500 direct jobs that are supported by the tourism industry. The total impact, which includes the indirect spending, which would be like suppliers to the tourism industry, was $224 billion, with $65 billion in total personal income and over 2,000 jobs directly related to the tourism industry. So that was the general overall economic impact study. And then as Christy mentioned, we did also one for COVID and what we project to see in the future based on what we saw this year. And this report is a little hard to put into one slide, but what they did was they looked at our baseline. As it says, the virus was contained in some regions, if some areas were permitted to have groups, meet moderation, that kind of thing would be our baseline. And then they did an upside if things got better than what we think they're going to be. And then they did a downside to if we thought they were going to get worse. So as you can see, the hotel room revenue through 2021 The upside is about $1 million more. The downside is about $3 million less. As we all know, this is super hard to project. Tourism economics uses a lot of additional information that they collect on their own from nationwide surveys and nationwide research that they've done to come up with these numbers. And then again, also in room demand, we see it up 317 rooms, down 269 rooms through 2021. Then in 2022, you can see kind of a little bit more recovery in the hotel room revenue, with the baseline going up to 26 million. And then the hotel rooms going up from 301 to 320. So as we go into my next report, I'll explain this a little bit more on what we're seeing and what we're projecting for Independence in 2021. Any questions on that? There is a very detailed report that I'm sure Christy would be happy to share if anyone wants to read.
Kim, is this part of our packet? It is, isn't it? So the members here can read this.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
I know it's hard to read on the screen.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I did have a quick question about a previous slide with the $224 billion. What $224 billion of total economic impact is that? That's for the state of Missouri. I wasn't sure what we were talking about there.
This is for just Independence. The
there,
220 billion is for direct spending in the tourism industry and indirect spending, which indirect would be someone that was supplied the tourism industry.
Okay, okay, great. That was a bit mind-boggling to me when I saw that number. I thought, that's for Independence? That's great. Okay, thank you. And as you say, 2020 will be just a terrible outlier.
Right. Hope to never see that one again.
Exactly. Okay. Any further comments or questions for Kim about that? Okay, super.
All right.
Marketing status update. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just jump into this, and that's okay. The next slide, Christy, is kind of taking off of what we learned from tourism economics and what we forecast based on all of the other partners that Madden works with, based on information we get from Destinations International, and then based on what we've seen happen in Independence. So just wanted to start, you can switch one more slide, Christy. There we go. These are the changes that we saw in the industry this year in 2020 as a result of COVID. We do see that a bounce back is coming in 2021, and we see an increase of 23% next year. We are seeing that people are more interested in safety and cleanliness. Their perception of that is going to be a big determination of where they go and how they travel. We're seeing shorter and more frequent trips. So as you can see on the graphs on the right, we're seeing a lot more weekend getaways, and we're seeing a lot more day trips, as well as the target drive markets. We're seeing people bring those closer to home. In Independence, we normally target 300-mile drive radius. We've pretty much kept that intact, seeing that people are doing more of the driving trips. And you can see the air travel data from last year compared to this year is still down, but those lines we're starting to meet. Next slide, please. So we're seeing a modest this is what we saw, a modest summer recovery. We saw that travel kind of spiked up a little bit in the summer months. And then as we transitioned into fall into winter, we saw kind of a spike in cases, especially over the holidays. And so that you can kind of see where the travel went back down. And then what we're seeing in 2021 with the vaccine rolling out, and with the number of COVID cases that already have happened, that we're projecting an increase to start in Q1 of 2021. Something that is not on here that what we were talking about is the meetings recovery. And what I've seen is we're going to start seeing meetings come back in Q4 fiscal quarter 1 and 2 or calendar quarter 3 and 4 of this year, but we won't really see a majority or a larger recovery until 2022. Next slide. So I'm going to today, I normally do like our quarterly recap. I'm going to do a 2020 performance recap and go over everything we did and how it worked out in 2020. Please keep in mind that we had the $1 million CARES funding budget within these numbers. And there were some reporting in 2019 that was not being tracked. So it's when we compare this next year in 2022 to 2021, I hope that we're up, but we have to also realize that we had $1 million in CARES marketing. So in 2020, we had record-setting visitation to the website. We had over 350,000 users, an increase of 400% compared to 2019. Again, I'm going to throw the caveat in there that there was a few months, maybe 4 months of tracking that was not installed on the website. But even if it was, if we use the same numbers as this year, we'd be well over 300% more visits to the website. Tracking demand, this is for the visitor guide. Since it dropped in April, which was late in 2020, over 11,000 pages of the content has been viewed digitally on the website, and over 200 copies have been requested through the website. In addition to getting those out via welcome centers and other convention and visitors bureaus and the Missouri Division of Tourism. Also, the Independence has a contract with a company called CTM, who also puts those along different routes and different visitor centers throughout Missouri, and I believe a little bit in Kansas. And then engaging our audience offsite. So our marketing mix through 2020 was partially performance driven. It was partially travel endemic, which would be like your TripAdvisors and your Expedia, as well as innovative placements for independents and within social campaigns. The social garnered over 162,000 engagements with Facebook, and they viewed over 1,470 hours from the Paranormal Path promotion, which was only 30 days long. Audiences also learned about independence through beloved voices of celebrities like Nick Offerman and Rob Lowe in our podcast advertising, which garnered over 1.7 million downloads. Okay, next slide. So as we started the year, we had 3 niches running: general, history, outdoors. We had to pivot a little bit. We really went more general and outdoors once the coronavirus hit. But as a result, on Google, we had over 22 million impressions with a click-through rate of 0.23%. An average click-through rate for Google is 0.1. So click-through rate's really healthy there. Our Facebook ads, we had over 56,000 clicks to the website from Facebook advertising, with 48,000 engagements. An engagement includes a like, a comment, a share, just doing something with the post rather than just reading it. Content distribution is also what we call native advertising. It's where if you're on a website and you're reading an article and then somewhere along the side or down at the bottom it'll say you may also like. So it's targeted, our content distribution is targeted towards another piece of content that is relative to what our content is. And with that, we had over almost 10,000 clicks. 96% of those were new users to the website, which is an important metric, and they spent over 2 minutes on the website. Content distribution a lot of times we will drive traffic to the storytelling portions of the website, or what we call a presentation layer. So that increases the time on site as they're reading content. And then for search engine marketing. So this is the paid media on Google that when you search for something and your ads, now they come across the top. We had over 35,800 clicks in that campaign. And you can kind of see what the most popular searches were. Events in Missouri, Missouri attractions, haunted places was number 3. Independence Mo, and then Harry Truman. Harry Truman Library and Museum or attractions, Harry Truman, they are always in the top 15 for sure. Also, I want to mention with the search engine marketing campaign, we participate in a co-op with Missouri Division of Tourism, where they match our contribution 100%. The maximum is $23,000 a year, and then Missouri Division of Tourism gives independents $23,000 a year. These are some of the ads we ran. These look like most of these are pre-coronavirus. We did pivot to more of these outdoor scenes after coronavirus. So I did want to break out the CARES funding, the Show Me Missouri Strong funding, just to pull it away from the overall campaign and let you see how it performed. I know we went over this, I believe, in one of our last meetings. However, out of that grand total, this is what the CARES funding brought to independents. Facebook campaigns, over 22,000 clicks, over 1.5 million impressions. The native or content distribution, over 4.8 million impressions with over 9,000 clicks. Again, 67% were new users. And then for the YouTube video campaign during CARES funding, we had a view rate of 91.2%, which is 5.9 million views. The average view rate in the tourism industry is 45%. So people were engaging, people were watching, and they were completing all of the video views. For the display campaigns with Google, Expedia, TripAdvisor, and Choosel, then we had a grand total of 22 million impressions, over 166,000 clicks, with a click-through rate of 0.75. And as I mentioned earlier, it's normally 0.1. So like I said before, even with the video as well, people were certainly engaging in our advertising. We did connected TV for the first time. So connected TV would be if you were on your Fire Stick and you're watching Hulu or any of the other apps that come on the Fire Stick, we were running video there. And we had over 9 million impressions. With the added value clicks, we also ran some display on some of the websites, and we had over 6,000 clicks there. With connected TV, impressions is our KPI, as people don't normally get up and push on their smart TV and or click on it for to take you to a website. So it's mainly just a general and branding awareness tactic. Then we did geo framing. So we did geo targeting of other presidential libraries in the Midwest. I don't know, I should put it on here which libraries there were, because I know, Sam, you're probably very intrigued by this. But I can get that information over to you. I should have listed the libraries here, but so as people we targeted people that we knew had been to other presidential libraries in the Midwest, and then we served them up mobile ads. We had over 5 million impressions there, so we served over 5 million ads to those people that had been to the presidential libraries, and then we had over 5,000 clicks to the website from it.
Kim?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, could I ask? We don't. It would be nice to see which libraries we're talking about, because
Yeah.
Midwestern could be defined in various ways.
Actually, as this meeting goes on, I can probably grab those real quick, and by the time the meeting's over, I'll let you know.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so, and it's very interesting how they do that. I mean, obviously they were closed. So the company that we work with can go back and get mobile data from anybody that was there within the last, I think they did 6 months, or they might have done 90 days prior to January, so the last fall. And that became our audience. Our target audience were those people that we knew had been there based on their mobile device location data. All right, the mid-roll campaign, which is the podcast that I mentioned earlier, we had over 1.7 million downloads. Estimated added value exposure from fantasy footballers YouTube recording a podcast was 158,000 downloads. The fantasy football one was super popular. Our Expedia display campaign, over 5 million impressions with 3,400 clicks, click-through rate of 0.06. The gross bookings that they determined from our ad buy was 51,000. So when someone clicks on Expedia and goes to their booking engine and books, then they track it. And their number that they came back with was $51,000 in hotel spend. And then, yeah, we saw the travel window day, which is very interesting, from 0 to 6 days, which is another trend we're seeing post-COVID. People are really booking like on Monday for their weekend, where that has never been seen before. Usually, years ago, it was like 90 days. That has obviously shortened a little bit. It's usually 30 to 45 days. And through the last 6 months, we've seen 0 to 6 days. Next slide. Okay. So Conversant is a company, a subsidy of Epsilon. If you're familiar with that, they work with most of the major credit card companies. And what they do is we ran a display ad. It was a pretty large buy through the CARES funding with them. We placed ads through Conversant. We did video and display. They then track it at post. So once the campaign ends, then they track it for 90 days. And what I mean by that is if somebody saw the ad, they know that, and then they go submit that information through the credit card companies to see if that person who saw the ad spent money on their credit card in Independence. So we just got our first 30-day report that we'll be presenting to Independence this week. That shows that, so then you can get a direct spend on return on investment on your advertising. Basically, you can see who actually spent money in Independence. We do exclude Independence because that would be hard to track. So we drew a circle around Independence and did not serve any ads within there. If for some reason they had accidentally got served an ad, they still know that the resident is in Independence and do not count them in the reporting. So we got our first 30-day, and then we'll get another 60-day in March, and that will be our last one. Will tell us how many people, as a result of seeing the advertising, came to Independence and spent money. We did some advertising on TripAdvisor, which we will be continuing into 2021. We got over 2 million impressions, 3,400 clicks, 472 view-through conversions on our videos. And then we also did Pandora. Our audience that we reached was 690,000. Total impressions was 2.8 million. Total clicks for audio and display, it was over 5,000. And the most engaged audience was 55 to 64. And that brings up a point too, but back on that Conversant study, they not only show us the economic impact and the return on investment for advertising, but they also share all the demographics of the people who visited and their age and where they came from, female, male, household income, and education. The next slide. Here are some of the ad sets we ran when we were running the CARES funding, where we were required to show or say, or both, what Independence was doing to keep visitors safe while in the community. Next slide. Again, I know I know you all have seen this, but the Paranormal Path campaign that we ran in October got over 47,000 clicks. This was not CARES funding, and this only ran 30 days. We had over 1.7 million impressions. The native advertising, which if you haven't been to visit independence.com and the Paranormal Path menu item, I encourage you. There's some really good video on there. The video is also on the YouTube channel, and there's a Paranormal Path type of story. We were driving a lot of this traffic to, where we got 10,000 clicks to it. And then for our YouTube videos, we had a 46% view rate with over 150,000 views in 30 days, with over 321 impressions. Just some kind of screenshots of what we did with the Paranormal Path. We look forward to building on this for sure in 2021. That Paranormal Path is on the website. That's the story I was just talking about, the videos, and then we made 3 logos for each attraction. We did a visitor profile study in 2020 as well, which is also more of a longer in-depth report. But here's the executive summary and some of the things that we were able to garner from this. A lot of our out-of-state visitors are from Kansas, Illinois, Texas, and Florida, and Nebraska. Travelers during the month of September spent more time in Independence. Some of the emerging markets that we saw, which is always good to know when you start doing your geo-targeting. Michigan, Illinois, and Wisconsin grew more in 2019 than they had in the past. Behavior report, the top 3 audience types to visit were fast foodies, business travelers, and pet owners. These are personas that the company that we work with define, where they give us a definition of what a fast foodie is, a business traveler, and a pet owner. So we have more information on actually who those people are, but these are just the titles that they give them. 37% of the visitors stayed overnight in 2019. And then between 2018 and 2019, there was an increase in devices that came to the community that were older, above 45 years old, less racially diverse, high school educated, and were more affluent, 75,000 annually year over year. And once we see the convergent study that I was talking to before, these match up almost exactly. And then for what we saw in 2020, what we want to look at moving 2021, some of the tactics that we're researching and putting in our plan for 2021 include our, Facebook and Google. Obviously, we're looking at doing some Pinterest as we see the tourism industry becoming more visible on Pinterest. Genius Monkey, which is a niche network buy, which is where we could get on the History Channel and different very niche stations like that. TripAdvisor, more radio, Midwest Living, which is a lead generator for us. Show Me Missouri Magazine, Missouri Travel Guide, partnership with Visit KC, and then some additional influencer marketing. So what we're looking forward, with all that being said, we're looking at refreshing our creative. We will be in town, my team and myself will be in town in February to meet with Christy and her team. We will have some refreshed creative ready to present. The Truman Library campaign, we hope to get out there and do a photo and video shoot as soon as we are able. We're looking at doing a genealogy campaign. We want to launch that one as soon as possible. We're currently working on it, actually in discussions with the Midwest Genealogy Center. They are possibly going to partner with us on that. I don't have those details outlined yet, but that's a good winter activity. They're back open for in-person visits. And with Queer Eye being here, we really think that we should take advantage of the popularity of it right now. And then we have an ad effectiveness study being done, which was part of the CARES funding that we'll have back in February, where we submitted all of our ads it will come back and tell us which ones perform better than the others. So we get that back in February, and then we plan on building on the Paranormal Path campaign and running it longer than the 30 days. That's it. It's a lot of information. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, Kim. Does anyone have any questions for Kim?
This packet is in your board packet as well.
Yes,
I'm glad.
Martin, Sam, I had a question about how you differentiate between new users and returning visitors on your clicks. And also, second question, I wonder if you did anything with the Missouri Life magazine.
Independence did do Missouri Life last spring. It was not part of the CARES funding. They did an ad, and I believe, Christy, it was something that was negotiated before we took over, but it was, I feel like you got a TV promotion they did.
Yeah, we had a 30-minute video. They were doing different locations, and we were able to get them to come in and produce a video of Independence. I think it was 2 years ago.
Okay. I knew, and I have been in contact with them. They were reaching out regarding Lewis and Clark. So they are coming back with a proposal, though, including things that are not Lewis and Clark, and some of their other issues throughout the year. And then the other question with the new users versus returning. So when we put advertising out in the market, we pixel it. So we put a tag on it so that when they come to the website, we know, we can tell, not we really, Google Analytics can tell if they've actually been to the website before or not by the tag that we put on the advertising. So when they click on the ad and it comes into the website, that fires up that pixel, and then that pixel can tell us if they've been there or not.
So that's done electronically and not by something that they insert themselves?
No, they don't have to do any action but click on the website.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy, you have a question? Your hand is up. Sorry, you're still on mute.
Sorry, is it better?
Yeah.
Hi,
Yes.
everyone. Just a quick thought. My Super Bowl commercial, I had over 2 million views on that. And I continue to get a lot of views on that on my social media. It was filmed in Independence, on the Independence Square. There's different things that people will be attracted to come and see it because it is a parody. I mean, it's a comedy. So I'm wondering if that is something, because I do get a lot of traffic to that, if that would be something that would help as well, because it is filmed in Independence. I don't know. I just a thought. Somebody had actually brought it up to me.
Is it on? It's on your website or your YouTube channel or both?
It is on the website, and I can talk to Cindy Rogers too. She's my media person about that. And I did have, and it is possible, like last night, I was on a couple of different radio stations where they were talking about the Super Bowl commercial. So, I'm trying to stir up a little bit of dust regarding the commercial right now. And of course, I always, mention, hey, this was filmed in Independence, and everybody does too. So, I mean, it just a thought. I don't know. It does attract a lot of attention. You're welcome to have it if you would like it. I don't know if it's something that would help or not. That was just my thought. So I'll be quiet.
I'd love to take a look at it. So I'll go to your website and take a look at it, and then see what we're going to be running in the next few days. Even if we just would put it on the Visit Independence YouTube channel. Goes there for one video. They tend to watch several. So, but I'll talk to Christy about it and we'll take a look at it. Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
it's 30 seconds long.
Okay.
So it's not incredibly long. You do kind of have to watch the whole thing. It was filmed, you know, of course, in the casket company, I'm sorry, I'm just totally, my TV just kicked on and I
Zach
just
shared
distracted
it.
me.
Shared the link.
Yeah, it's filmed in 5 different locations there in Independence. So I think it's maybe worth a shot to draw some attention. And then I'm going to be talking to Cindy today to see if we can't stir up something, since we're going to be in the Super Bowl again, regarding the commercial. And since it was on the radio last night a couple times. So, but thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Zach just shared the link to this meeting.
Okay, good.
Okay. Kim, you mentioned about extending the length of the Paranormal Path program or campaign. I think that would be a super idea, because I don't see why that couldn't be more than 30 days with this popularity year round,
Yes, for sure. And that's kind of the goal. And then we also want to start including more itineraries. So not just doing the Paranormal Path, but then what can you do? You can go to dinner, you can visit other attractions, you can overnight. So yeah, that's definitely the end goal.
Okay, great. If there's any silver lining at all in 2020, and it's a hard silver lining to find, it looks like we have built a even larger social media base that will stay with us and hopefully convert into actual people visiting our hotels and restaurants and historic sites and businesses.
Yes. And the study that I'm going to be sharing with Christy was interesting because it shows where people are coming from that came to Independence, and as far out as we're seeing a lot, and we're seeing this kind of all over the Midwest, but a lot of people coming from the East Coast, New York City, that type of thing. So if you break down the demographics on the social media too, you'll see that an increase in those geo targets that are further away and running from the big cities, basically.
And international ones too, right? I mean, maybe not for obviously not 2020 or probably 2021, but focusing on Europe and places like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Great. I guess I had one quick, I don't want to take too much more time, but you mentioned something about Refresh Creative. What does that mean? You want to meet and do that?
Yeah,
what does that refer to?
We've been running the same ads for, after Clear took over, we had access to some of their photography. We've been running similar ads for 2 years, so we just want to refresh it a little bit. What we're going to do is look at our digital ads and see how we can maybe possibly animate them, make them more movement, and just kind of try to take it to the next step.
Okay. Well, I meant to tell you, the visitor guide looks fabulous too.
Yeah, thank you. I should have included that. Yeah, thank you.
No, it looks great. And I caught that you noticed that the demographics are less diverse in terms of the visitors to Independence in 2019. So I'm hoping the visitor guide does have a lot, more, ethnic diversity in it. So I'm hoping that'll help, bring more diverse audience to us.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kim. Any other comments or questions for her? Okay, if not, then Wendy, good morning. Can we have a historic preservation update?
Good morning. Yes, as Eric mentioned before, the Truman Depot project is still moving forward. we've been in negotiations with Union Pacific for quite some time, trying to negotiate with them on the improvements that they would like the city to do versus what the city was intending to do with this project. So we are hoping that we will be able to wrap that up very soon, have the project go out to bid, and then move forward with a groundbreaking on May 8th to coordinate with Truman's birthday. Then we also just recently put together an RFQ, I believe, Eric? Or an RFP for the mill office, which is the building that is adjacent to the National Frontier Trails Museum at the entrance off of Pacific. There's some interest in seeing what can be done with that building. So we're going to move forward with that and see if perhaps we can't get a tenant or a use in there and have it restored in the process. So other than that, projects are still moving forward fairly slowly, but these two would be fairly large projects and would make a pretty significant impact both visually and on our preservation program. So we are very confident that these projects will add and enhance our tourism program and encourage more heritage tourism. And other than that, if there are any questions, that's all I have.
Okay, great. Okay, Wendy, thanks very much. I noticed in Kim's report that one of the three major visiting group profiles is not historic tourism travelers. So I was a little disappointed to see that. You know, the business travelers, the pet people, and the foodies, which is interesting. I think it's great. Whatever brings people to Independence is great, but I was a little surprised that, you know, we didn't see more of this, the traditional heritage tourist. So part of that may be a factor of the Truman Library being closed. So we bear some responsibility, the Truman Library, for that maybe.
The library and the Park Service has not been as active this year. So perhaps heritage tourism will be more of an interest in the coming year.
Sure.
And I'll add that
Yep.
it is a heavy part of our 2021 marketing plan as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, Kim, when you said that in your report that tourism spending is projected to increase by 23% next year, was that for 2022 or 2021? I wasn't sure which year we were talking about.
2021 over 2020.
23% increase. Okay. Gotcha.
It does
Okay, thank you.
it does not make up for our loss. As Eric said, we were down 41%, but we'll get there, hopefully.
Right. Right. It's a deep hole to climb out of, no doubt. Nancy has her hand up. Nancy? Oh, you're on mute, I think, Nancy. We can't hear you. Well, she can't hear me say that, I think.
Sorry,
Nancy,
I'm new to all.
no problem.
Oh, good. Okay. Regarding, you know, the tourism and hotels and such, a lot of that, I would say, you know, would come from people coming in for Santa Calagon and the Wine Fest. Hi, Jody. On that, will we be having those things this year? Because that's our big money makers.
We're trying.
Right.
We're planning on it. Our club voted to do it, so we're moving ahead like it's going to happen. So
Great. Well, that's wonderful. Those are such great attractions, you know, for Independence. You know, that is Independence. I married a couple just last week, and they met at Santa Calagon. They got engaged at Santa Calagon, and I married them the other day. But I told them, I said, hey, you guys need to come back and get married at Santa Calagon, you know, do a renewal there. So, you know, I just love our people just associate Independence, you know, of course, with Santa Calagon and the Wine Fest and the Truman Library. So proud of Independence and our historic sites. Everybody, you know, they're just looking beautiful, Christy, and I just love being in them. I have an opportunity to be at the sites pretty regularly, and I just Independence is just looking good. I think great. It's looking great, everybody. It's going to be a great year.
It's got to be better than 2020, right?
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It really is.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that, Nancy. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments at this point? There are reports in the packet, social media activity that Zach has prepared, sales and services that Matea has prepared. Thank you both for that. You can just go ahead and read those, please, at your own convenience. And so, I guess I had one quick question about the Chiefs. I mean, does their Super Bowl run last year and the run this year, should that convert to tourism dollars for the city of Independence? I mean, obviously, it's not a home game; it's in Florida. Do we ever see a bump in visitation because people are interested in seeing the place where the Chiefs come from or where they play? Is there any bump that we ever see?
Christy may be able to answer that better than me, but I will tell you for future planning, based on the Super Bowl last year, which we had a big campaign planned for last fall, and then when they started with 0 fans and then went to 50%, we really cut that marketing budget down. But for this coming season, starting in July, we do have more money put towards advertising the Chiefs. Our goal is to get everybody that goes to a Chiefs game to stay in Independence. So we'll be targeting, where the opposite teams are coming from, and some of the areas where we know that people are coming from. We're doing a similar targeting campaign for baseball. We're going to be doing that this spring with the Royals. We met with them last week, and they plan on having starting with 50% occupancy. So we will be going back into that sponsorship, hopefully.
Okay, great. In your report, Kim, sorry.
I would just piggyback on that and say that probably more so than the Chiefs, the Royals are a larger hotel driver than the Chiefs are. And the Chiefs have fewer games, obviously, fewer tickets available per game for those coming in from out of town. Baseball is obviously they play a lot more games, and those fans travel a little bit better because of the availability of tickets, and it's a pretty economical place to go watch their team play an away game.
Great. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Eric. Great.
Eric, I can echo that. I know that at the depot, whenever Minnesota is here for baseball games, we always get Minnesota people at the depot visiting.
Yeah, they travel exceptionally well. And of course, St. Louis fans as well. Like them or not, they travel extremely well.
And just briefly, Kim, getting back to some of the social media stats you shared with me, I'm farthest from an expert on trying to decipher or interpret their importance. So is there a way to try to compare like-sized cities, like maybe St. Joe or Springfield, Columbia, in terms of the number of impressions or engagement rate or clicks? I mean, I'm not sure the significance of some of those numbers, frankly, and it might be, just to see a comparison.
Yeah, and we can definitely do that. The hard part is with social media, sometimes people have different goals. So with our social media with Independence right now, our goals are engagements. We want them to like it. We want them to share it. We want them to comment on it. We would rather, and click through to the website, obviously. Getting followers is not one of our major goals. We just started Facebook lead generation, where we're going to hopefully start developing some leads of actual people signing up for a visitor guide. We've got an email push going out also for people to request the visitor guide. So the goals of different organizations are different. Some people, I work with clients that's what they want. They want followers. They don't care about clicks, shares. They want people following them. Our team, in working with lots of different clients in social media, is we feel the engagement is way more valuable than a follow.
Great. Well, it's good to have that kind of clarity, Kim. Clarity in your mission. And again, I applaud you on the visitor guide and the work also the city's done, Zach and others too. So, job very well done.
Thank you.
Okay, folks. Well, unless there's any other business, well, let me ask: is there any other business? Okay, hearing none. Motion to adjourn.
I'll motion.
So moved, or second.
Okay, Chris, I think I heard you first, right? Okay, Chris first, John second. Okay, terrific. Well, thank you all very much for meeting this morning. Good meeting. Have a great day. Drive safely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.